Hi, how are you? Today we're going to look into a new Torah called Behakoisai. Or the spelling could be a little bit different, but it's pronounced as a Behakoisai, means statutes. This parasha, this has got the 78 passages, and it talks about mostly of the Uzzah and his the story. If a Jew should follow the laws of the Torahs, and God says that you know uh, whoever follows the Torah perfectly and completely, then He will bless them, and whoever not following the Torah or the laws, definitely He will curse them out. So the following the Torah, um, you know, um, it is. It is kind of it's a must, and a Jew should do it in his life. And you know, when we read the how this connects to the story of Uzzah, let us think. Let's see about this one. Second Samuel chapter 6. It talks about the story of Uzzah. The ark was there, 20 years. The temple was without the ark of covenant, and then ark was there in the house of Abinadab. And then David sees this one. David saw, and David planned to bring this ark from Abinadab's house. And if you see that, and they put it in a cart, and then and Abinadab was going, before the cart. I mean, and Uzzah was behind the cart, behind the chariot, or whatever the mode of the truck, you can tell. So now at one point these bulls get jerked, and then they kind of trying to run away, or something is happening, and then the ark was airborne, ark was floating in the air. Who's held the ark to support the ark to put it in a place. And now God beats Uzzah, and Uzzah dies there. So this and then David um, saw this one, and as I said, that if you follow Torah, that you'll know how to act with that one. You know what to do with that one. If you do not follow the Torah, God would bring the city in a wrath, or city in a difficult position. And now what happens is that we are talking about the Behakoisai, the statutes of this one, or the Torahs, or the commandments of this one, how it has to be followed. How a Jewish guy should follow the Torah means he has to, immersed, or he has to toil inside the Torah itself, meaning he has to immerse inside the Torah. Torah should be, soaked in himself. You should completely, thoroughly soaked inside the Torah, meaning you should get everything in him. You should be immersed in the Torah. That's what the statutes are given to the Jewish people. The statutes are kind of three kind of statutes we can see. The mitzvahs. What happens is, one is with no rational understanding or explanations, like the statutes of purity and impurities, doesn't have any rational explanations for that one. And then the second Torah, the second mitzvah, are used like the testimonials, like the Sabbath or Passover, and eating matzah, or the witnessing of the historical events happen in the Bible. If you are, observing the Sabbath, that means you're witnessing God, that God rested on the seventh day. So this is kind of a second type of statutes or mitzvahs that is written in the Torah. The third type of mispatim, or the Torah or mitzvah, is that it talks about the civil law. Kind of a mispatim means the civil laws. That means God commanded it: do not eat this, and do not do this one, don't do this, don't do that one. Those type of things are called the the mishpatim, or the civil laws. So, if one should follow all these things, thoroughly, completely immersed in Torah, and he must follow it. That's what the Torah for the Jewish, and he will be blessed by God. But if it is not, it is going to be a difficult thing for him. He had to engrave in his heart. Writing, speaking, listening are different than engraving. Engraving takes a lot of pain. Engraving goes a lot of procedures. So in order to engrave that one, he has to put a lot of effort to engrave all these Torahs in his heart, all these statutes in his heart. Why did God punish Uzzah? What happened in the situation? uh, was it but actually it was a mistake of David, not of Uzzah's. David should understand what exactly the statutes are. He should have engraved in his heart what was the statute it talked about. What was the mitzvah, or what was the statute talked about? Is the 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 carrying of the Ark of the Covenant. What the Bible talked about. There are two things in the Bible. One is God's will, and the second one is the God's pleasure. The mitzvahs are two levels. One is the God's will, and the level two is the God's pleasure. God, David saw these mitzvahs in the God's will. Everything is God's will. That's why you will always see in the Psalms, he wrote all the time, Lord, let it be happen according to thy will, thy will. So David, most of the time, he saw those things in God's will. But actually, God is saying it's a pleasure of God to do the Torah. It's a God's pleasure to do to observe the Torah. What happened? If the ark was supposed to be carried by the shoulders of the Levite, even a 5-year-old kid knew about this. 5-year-old kid knew about this Torah portion, because this ark should be carried in the shoulders of these Levite people. How come David forgot this and he put it in a bullock cart or a cart with an animal pulling that one? That's the biggest mistake that David did, rather than Uzzah went and held or the ark which was falling. Most of the time we think about this one, because I've seen messages, I've heard messages. We always say Uzzah went and held that one, touched that one, or try to catch the ark falling from the cart. That's why God was beating him up. But actually, it was a fault of David. But he did not realize, or he didn't realize what exactly the mitzvah was telling. Ark is supposed to be carried by the Levites. He should have told the Levites to carry the ark to the city, because even though Uzzah was dead, for example, when the ark was carried back to Obed Edom's house, and it was kept in 3 months there, Obed Edom's house was so blessed just because of the ark was kept in there. So ark will give you the blessings when you give back to the ark of covenant what the respect it should be paid off. Because if you don't, you'll be getting the cursing. So David's mistake, that's David's mistake that he didn't bring the ark in a proper way. And also, when you carry, there is a procedure when you're carrying the ark of the covenant. They have to have the two rods on the both sides will be there, and these Levites will be carrying face to face. Two people this side, two people, they will be carrying, moving. The face-to-face movement should be done in this one. But what he did, he showed the back. David was kind of showing the back towards the ark, but the ark should be carried to be face-to-face. How this has been, even these are this method, or this has been confirmed when you see the top of the ark of the covenant. There will be two cherubims. It will be facing each other. It will be facing each other, not facing, because there is a big meaning to that one. And inside the ark of the covenant, It's very important, folks. Inside the Ark of the Covenant, the Ten Commandments, the Lucos or the Ten Commandments are written was there. But the writings of the Ten Commandments was also, in a way, it has been written in a circle. Thus, these words will be facing each other. So all in anywhere turn and see, that was the biggest miracle of the Ten Commandment. That if you see it any way, any side, the words will be facing each other. That's how the words will be written, folks. And why this should be written on face to face, why the cherubims were sitting face to face, why the Ark of the Covenant should be carried by the Levites by face to face walking. Why? Because this is what exactly it means, meaning that when God tells or God told the Torah or the mitzvah, and the response of the Jewish person is supposed to be the way that God expects. That's how it is. God is telling the order and God is giving the commandment and the response of the Jewish. That's why it has been face to face. Do you know in those days, when God was giving this response, giving these commandments, Jewish people they used to die, because when God gave, I am the God and no other God for you, you should be having or entertaining or celebrating. So when God said this one, Jewish people, most of them, they literally died because they could not take this one inside the heart, and then they literally dead on those days. So the mitzvahs, the commandments have such a big power that it'll penetrate through your heart, and you have to be responsible enough to give a response to that God. You have to practice the Torah in your life. You have to read the Torah in your life. You have to, in order to get these things done, squared out, you need to be engraving all this Torah in your heart, or you should be immersed in the heart, in the Torah. That's what the Bible expects it. The Bible expects the Torah should be done in a way that God expects you to read every single minute, because it takes a lot of effort to engrave. Since David missed the point of carrying the Ark of the Covenant, which was supposed to be carried face to face position, he totally forgot that, and then he gave Uzzah was been punished for that one. So, folks, in order to reveal all these things, in order to get a clear confirmation, all these things, a clear understanding on all these things, we need to follow, we need to study, we need to work along with the Jewish people, because they lived with God. God was with them, and God walked with them. Only through them we can learn and understand more about the Bible. See, in order to understand the Bible correctly, exactly the way it should be, it has to be done in a Jewish way. That's why I was encouraging you guys to follow the Bible in a way that we are supposed to be following it. It's not the way that all the other people or what we are teaching or what being taught all these years. So there are so many things that you will be learning, because the language, the Bible, everything was given to them first. So we need to make sure that we are understanding exactly the Bible. I'm here to combine these things, that I'm not asking you to become a ritual person or a traditional person or giving some sacrifices and walking away. It is not that I'm telling. I'm talking about learn from those days what they did and apply to our daily life here today. So in order to be a successful Christian in your life, we already discussed the three levels of the living life since yesterday, from when we were reading the Behar 3 Torah portion. In this portion, you'll understand why a Jewish guy should keep the Torah in his heart, why the Torah must be kept in his heart, why the mitzvahs are supposed to be engraved in his hearts. Why? See, there are apart from 613 commandments, God gave. All of them he wrote in his own hands and he engraved on the slabs. Engrave means something is more concrete, more solid, more more in depth to that point. We must understand that one about